are now listening to the Playmaker Podcast.
Before we get into this episode, we want to show some love to our partner, Stateside Vodka. I know y'all love to drink and hate hangovers, so why not drink something that is gluten-free, blended with electrolytes, zero sugar, zero carbs, and vegan. If you want to purchase this, visit statesidevodka.com and use code PLAYMAKER or click that link in the description below. We hope you enjoy this episode, and once again, visit statesidevodka.com and use code PLAYMAKER. What's good, family? This is the Playmaker Podcast. I'm your host, Reggie Coleman, and today I have a special guest co-host, my brother. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Devin Coleman, the younger brother of Reggie Coleman.
Bro, chill. And we have a special guest today, assistant head coach at TCA, Mr. Sean Smith. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So I'm glad to see you safe. You know, we're in a pandemic and whatnot. I'm glad you're safe, healthy. And thank you for coming today. So let's get right into it. Who inspired you, or what inspired you to begin coaching at such a young age? Because I know you've been coaching for well over 10 years now. So who inspired you, or what inspired you?
My family coaches. Everybody from my uncles to my dad to my mom have coached, and the way I got into coaching was on accident, and I just fell in love with it. I was like, I'm 5'5", I ain't going to the NBA, so I might as well start coaching.
Yeah.
So, coaching basically, it keeps me involved in the game. It keeps me, knowing who's up next, and it keeps me involved in my community as well. It's not just you just don't coach. You end up being a mentor. You end up being a teacher. So it just was there. Coach was like, yeah, this is what you're supposed to be.
So when did you know, even though you said, yeah, you 5'5", you knew you wasn't going to the NBA. I learned that later in life. But when did you know, yo, this is really something I'm passionate about? I want to, and not only passionate about, but you wanted to impact the kids. Because I know y'all got Team Blessed.
Yeah. And
we could talk about that, or you can talk about that within this question. But when did you know, this is something I really want to do for, I guess, the rest of or for your career?
10th grade, I did the preseason workouts. I did everything at the high school, and something told me, going in the tryouts, coach was like, turn your paperwork in, get your physical done, and something told me, don't do that. Don't turn your paperwork in. You're going to waste your time. And from that day, I just said, coaching was what I wanted to do, and I really fell in love with it because of the parents that I had, the players that I had. They were committed to, playing basketball, and I knew, my dad coached Franz and all those other guys, and it was just, it's coaching. Let's do it. You know how to do it. And now I sit down, my dad watches every game that we play. He tells me, you did this wrong, that wrong. He kind of hates the offense that I run, but, it is what it is. It's new age basketball. It's not really the same stuff, but I keep the same principles. And that Team Blessed team that I had, we had them. They're juniors in college now. So that team was crazy, and they went from me to Coach Bob Fusick to a bunch of other different coaches, and that family that we put together at that time just made us want to stay together as a group, and we enjoy winning. The last summer we played together, we were 76-0. So it was we were going to play, and the guys wanted to play together, and we had Division I talent coming off the bench, and what made it so good was that they didn't care that they came off the bench. They wanted to play, they wanted to win, and that was the most the best experience I had, because you just figured out winning is it cures all issues. So understanding that and understanding players, I was fine with that.
And how did that team come together? Was it just the luck of a draw or a draft, or you put that team together yourself?
The summer before I put that team together, initially, those guys were in 4th grade, and I seen Quayshawn Lane play at Moody Park. And that summer, I had took over for a coach. I fell into it on accident. I took over for a coach, and the team wasn't good. So his team wasn't in the league anymore. And I told his mom, I need Quay on my team to start a team. Every team needs a good point guard. So from that time on, people don't believe this, but I kind of let my players, like, who do you want to play with? You want to play with this guy, you want to play with him, and that's how we really form a lot of teams. It always is, who do you play well with, and are they going to defend? Yeah, they're going to defend. All right, they can play with us. And that's how we formed most of our teams is we get that one piece, and we let that one piece kind of put everything else together. And then once you see everything else, everybody else is like, oh, I want to play with them. So it's kind of hard because you tell kids, like, you don't want to play. This is hard. Like, this is not easy. We expect perfection every night, even though we're not going to get it. That's what we want. And I guess the parents and the kids kind of enjoyed that kind of, culture. That was what we had put in place.
You got one?
Yeah, wait. So what age you started, like, coaching at?
I was 14.
So, like, at 14, did you have to earn, like, that respect from the players, or they just
the players it was easy. They wanted to win. Like, we were winning. We were winning from day one. The first year we were undefeated. So it was like, I knew that my dad had put that in place. Like, we don't lose. Like, we went to Indiana 2005 and 2006 with Franz. My dad had Franz and my older brother and all them, and we were practicing twice a day, hot summers in Moody Park, and nobody cared that it was hot. It was like, we have this team together, we're going to win, and we're going to prepare as if we're going to win. Like, I just remember the days, like, in the back seat, like maybe in the trunk of my dad's car, and like everybody's in there, Franz running out with his food right before practice, and everybody's just like, we were prepared to win, and preparation was something I always took serious. Like, this first team, our first thing was Moody Park. You didn't miss a Saturday practice. I don't care what time practice started. The parents knew you just don't miss practice because preparation was what always got us over. We knew what that other team was going to do. We had our game plans in place, and that's how we go in, all the time.
So how was it coaching all those? Essentially, you had all-star players because you said Quay was your first player. Then he picked – obviously, the other players he picked were great on their own. They could have been the number one option on the team. Yeah. So I think of like Kentucky or Duke or them top schools where they have all the top talent. Right. But how was it coaching them and trying to get them to figure out like team first and it's not all about your stats? How did that go?
It was easier then than it is now.
Right.
Like, it was so much easier then because they understood that, like, they weren't with the, I got to score 30 a game. They were just trying to win. Now it's like, big man shoot threes now. So now you got to rein that in. Like, then it was, we run our sets, we run our play, we're good. But with them, it was so much of winning. Like, I was telling one of the guys last night, he came in the huddle last year, and he had been with us for maybe 5 years at that time. I was talking to the huddle. He's like, yo, coach, be quiet. I'm like, looking at him like, be quiet. He like, yo, play defense and he gonna shut up. And that was it. And I'm like, you finally understand what it is, So they understood that. They understood defense was the name of the game, and that was it. Like, after they understood that, I didn't really have to do much. It was just making sure that their effort was consistent every night that we stepped on the floor because it was a standard. You might not win every game, but you got to play hard. And that was just really what that was.
And going back to Moody Park, I know your dad runs it. So what did you exactly do there? And just talk a little bit about Moody Park and how's it going right now and what's the, I guess, future plans even though we're in a pandemic?
I mean, I do everything. Like, I schedule games. I put kids on teams, registrations. Like, my dad is like the president. Like, so, he goes out and he gets sponsorships and, he makes the final call when I don't have no idea what I want to do. He meets with people. I hate meetings. Like, meetings are the worst thing. What are we meeting about? We know what we're going to do. But he goes there, he meets with all the proper people, make sure that the cops are in place. He makes sure that everything is in place after I tried to make sure it was in place, and I probably ain't do a good job at making sure that everything was right. So, but other than that, for Moody Park, I just try to do everything, and it's a family affair for everybody. My mom handles the workers, my dad handles the referees, he and my uncle, and then I do the scheduling for all the 6 leagues that we have. And future, we're gonna be back and rolling this summer. And I think we're probably gonna try to start earlier. But the summer is going to be. This summer should be probably one of the best summers we have because we just had a lot of time to prepare.
Right.
Like giving us time to prepare has allowed us to do everything. You know what teams you want. We trying to go with a different format this year for the high school teams to get more teams there to be able to, basically increase the exposure of all the kids that are at Moody Park and bring some more kids in where you say you can play against, a team from Philly. You can play against a team from Delaware. But with COVID, it may subside what we're trying to do, but we know what we want to do.
So if COVID allows it, you guys are trying to get out-of-state teams this year? Have you ever had, besides like Pennsbury?
We've had a lot of interest. It's just that the timing is, we play 6, 7, and 8 o'clock. Yeah. So they would always have to play 8 o'clock games. We had a team from New York try to come down. They played like 2 weeks. It didn't work. Teams from like that area, from like the tri-state, have always tried, but it's so hard because of the timing. Like I gotta be here by a certain time. But other than that, like we've always had teams that wanted to play, but it's just difficult. And I think that the new format is going to allow us to have them come in shorter periods of time where they ain't got to worry about being here for 8 straight weeks. Right. So that was really the toughest part for a lot of them, like 8 straight weeks, twice a week. I got to be here by a certain time every day. I'm like, yeah, that's a lot. It's cool, but that was it.
So be on the lookout for Moody Park this summer. Maybe starting a little earlier. So you said you've been coaching since 14. So what's that, about 10 years? Yeah, 10 years. After Moody Park coaching and I guess rec leagues, you started at Trenton High? Yeah,
well, first I would say Ewing.
Ewing. So let's go from Ewing and then we'll go along the line as you progress.
Yeah, Ewing, 10th grade year. Like I said, I did everything preseason. Like I was ready to play, and something said, "Nah, don't do it." So when I did that, Shelly Dillon's husband John coaching my dad for forever. So it was a seamless transition for me to go in and learn from her. And I tell people to this day, like organization, like a program. Like y'all know Nick Saban. Like she was like Nick Saban. Like everything was, it was this way or you just get out. Like I don't know, but it made us who we were. We understood that, you late to practice. You running them 5 laps for every minute. It wasn't no question about it. You knew that was going to happen. You knew what plays we were going to run. You knew how everything was supposed to be handled. You knew study hall was every Monday. So it wasn't like, questions about what happened. So organization-wise, I learned so much there, and I was there 4 years because I did my first year of college when I went to Mercer. I stayed around and I helped, and it was amazing to see. I seen the beginning of like what we call a dynasty of like we had a 10-year stretch from 2011 to like 2020, 2019, like somewhere around there where we were in the state championship or the state finals every year. Like, and it started where I was at the game that they lost. I guess that might have been 2010. Yeah, the 2010 season or something like that. It was Dante Jones and all those guys. I seen that game, and I walked into the game like, you starting all sophomores. Like, what? Like this was never something that happened. So she started all sophomores, and that was where the dynasty had started, where it went through like Dante and them had 3 more years left. And then Trey Lowe came, and then, you had the group of, I want to say that might have been like, I don't even know, Karan Johnson and a couple other those guys. But it was a consistent, like, every year JV guys became varsity guys. They made their improvements, and everything kept going. So you learned about the program there. So that lasted 4 years. We went to 3 state championships, I think. In my 4 years, we won one. My sophomore year, we won a state championship, and then we lost the other 3 or 4 that we went to. I can't even remember. And then I went to Trenton. Trenton was it was amazing. It was amazing coaching at Trenton. I don't think people really understand what it feels like having a city behind you. Like, that was a different feeling because it's like you usually fighting for like a town. It's a couple people. Same people come to the games all the time. When you're coaching in a city, it's like the whole city is here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we fitting people in this little bandbox at Rivera Gym. Like, I'm talking like this was like Europe, like for the city. And we used to do things like called the city run, where we would run from Trenton High to like Rivera.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't seem that far when you're driving, but when you're running, that's like 5-6 miles. So you're running that, and you see the people like they're beeping their horns at you, and people clapping and cheering for you while you're running in the street, and it's like, this is bigger than me. And that lasted for 2 years, and I went to a primetime shootout game, and Fauci asked me what I was doing. I had no idea. I was like done with it, and I said, nothing. He said, go downstairs and be the freshman coach. Be the freshman. I'm like, what? He said, yeah, go downstairs, be a freshman coach. And I did that, and that was like one of the best moves I can say for my career, because it opened my eyes to what like high school basketball in a non-public school is really about. You in public schools, you fighting for your community, you fighting for your city. In a non-public school, you fighting for the name on the front of your jersey, and you fighting for yourself at a certain point in time. Like, everybody in a non-public school has the aspirations of going to college for free. So the work ethic that you see in the summer, from the off seasons, and the kids wanting to play games. Like, parents are, why are we not playing in the fall? I'm like, yo, we ain't supposed to be playing. Like, well, call the kids up. I'm coaching them. Like, and it's like, it was a different environment, and the kids want to play. They want to play the Roselles. They want to play, St. Pat's. They want to do that every day. And putting the schedule together, some of y'all can see the schedule that we have now, but it's like, it's every year. Like, you was there, like, you play everybody.
Top teams every year.
You play everybody, and That's
how Fauci always was. He still is.
Yeah.
Like, he want to play the top teams, whether we had the best talent or not.
Yeah.
He want to see where we fare against
Right.
the best, not only in the state, but most of the times they was top in the country,
Right.
especially when I was playing, and they still are now. So it's like, you got to love that as a player, and I'm sure as a coach to like
the
be
preparation
in those
is so
gym.
fun.
Yeah, it's fun to play against those guys. And me, like you said, you's 5'5", I'm like 5'6". I love playing against those quote unquote giants, because like it was a couple games where I played my best games against those top schools, and it was just fun to be in that environment. And I played with 6 other D1 players. So
man, I remember when y'all played St. Anthony's in what was this, 3 overtimes?
Yeah.
4. I was there. Like, I had a championship game the next day. We kept pushing our practice time back that day because everybody was at the game. So, and then we driving back. It was a rainstorm or something that day? It was something crazy.
It might have snowed a little bit.
It was something crazy. And it took us like 2 hours to get back from Toms River. We still had practice that night, but it was just like we were there. And I remember that day, and I'm like, this is like, I want to be a part of this, because it was just something different than the normal.
So since you coached at like a public and a private school, what is like the biggest jump or the biggest difference between coaching at a public and coaching at a private school?
Coaching at a public school, it was just more so about the program and making sure that it's still at a private school. It's still like you're making sure that the program is going well. But at a public school, you have who you have, so you can't you're gonna go with who's there, and you gotta tailor your system to. I have this group of players this year, this group coming up. Let's try to mix something to where the JVs are going to learn and develop, and the varsity guys are still going to be good at it. At a private school, it's like, this is what we do. Go find the players that do it. It's just not like, and we've struggled with that mightily over the last 2 years or so, because we haven't had those dogs. This year, everybody at TCA and our community is excited because we have a different type of team. The way that these kids fell into our lap this year was like, it was a perfect storm for us. We needed an athletic wing. One fell into our lap, moved down here just to move down here. We needed defensive guards. Burlington City canceled their sports. So, two kids come calling, and we send them through the regular process admissions, and our admissions, Miss Renee is the best at admissions, so it's like we get everything done that we need to get done. But that's like the biggest thing is that public school, you have who you have, and the private school, there's no excuse. Like you can
get who you want.
You get who you want. Do what you want, and the kids in a private school are just know like basketball is my way out. There's no like they have distractions, but going to a school like TCA, you can't really get distracted. Everybody the school 2 floors. Like where you going? Ain't
barely that.
Yeah, it's barely that. You ain't going in and out of class. You ain't walking around the school.
Ain't no skipping class.
No skipping class. When you make that commitment to go to a private school, it has to be like this is my way out, because there's no way that I can get caught up, because if I get kicked out, I'm back where I started at. So that's the really big difference there.
So now that you are at a private school, what do you, when you go out, I guess, quote unquote, recruiting players to come to the school, what do you look for in a player? Is it like character? Of course it's skill, but other than that, is it character, how they treat their teammates on and off the court? Like, what do you look for in a player? Work ethic?
It's work ethic. Like if you're not going to work, because like we're not there every day, like as coaches. And I got hired at TCA August 6th or 7th. I started in like 2017, 2016, something like that. August, like maybe like 4 days later, I'm driving up to the school. It's maybe 12 o'clock. They're leaving. Like they're getting out of there. What time y'all got here this morning? 8 o'clock? 8 o'clock. We ain't never did that, and ever since then, it's like, all right, I know I got to beat you here. Like, you're not going to beat me to the gym. You ain't going to outwork us. Like, I don't care what it is, you're just not going to outwork us. And that group was outstanding because they worked hard. And that's something that, that I learned from Coach Fauci a lot, was that work ethic it will get you over when, when times are hard, when you're tired, when you're defeated. If your preparation is there and you work hard at it, you're always going to end up in the winner's circle, because you're ready. Like, you're ready. You're more prepared than everybody else.
So Fauci stepped down as the coach, right?
Yeah.
So
he's coaching JV right now, which is, y'all got to see that. That's a show. Like, that's really a show, because he coaches like everybody know he coaches basketball one way, and like it's. You're going to do it his way, you're going to do it hard, or you're not going to do it at all. So that is, where that is. But, yeah, he around.
So for Varsity, how big of a role did you have to fill in for him, as, he was like one of the best coaches in Mercer County? So
it wasn't really a lot. It wasn't a very big role. But Coach Eric is like, he understands the game from a different level. And him and I, like, he's like maybe 30-something, like 34, 35, but like understanding basketball now versus like where we are at a totally different, like, we have to tell our kids now to post up. Like, you have to have
everybody want to 5 out every game.
Like, you have to have that conversation, like, post up. You have to, like, make a basketball play. You have to tell them to make a basketball play. Like, the play goes off schedule. So it's like now it's more so of me being more detailed in practice than it was anything else, because if Fauci ran practice, one person talks, you don't say anything unless he asks for it. So it was like, that was the biggest difference, is that I had to step up. But being a head coach prior to being an assistant was key for me, because I seen a lot of different scenarios to where, like, I go into games now, I may have 40 different out-of-bounds plays. Like, where, all right, we in this situation, we can run this, and this, right? Or, this play ain't working. Like, we went to practice today and put in a play. Like, and it was like, this is going to get us back to what we want to get into, but this is going to help us. So being a head coach was very key before I got there, because it opened my mind up to basketball from a bigger perspective. And I don't really like watch what we do on offense more so. I'm a defensive guy, and Cox is an offensive guy. So it worked very well for us to be like, you know, I'm like, you ain't in help. He like, you ain't make a shot. You know, so it's like, it's those different type of things. But it was it's very cool, you know, with him being around because he's a very good mentor. He tells you what you want to hear, like what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And that has prepared me, you know, now to where, you know, next 4 or 5 years, so I hope to be a head coach of a program.
And on the second half of this show, we'll talk about Sean's time at TCA this season, how it's going, and the future plans for TCA, and also him in, let's say, 5 or 10 years. So after the sponsor, we'll be back. We want to show some love to our partner, Stateside Vodka. I know y'all love to drink and hate hangovers, so why not drink something that is gluten-free, blended with electrolytes, 0 sugar, 0 carbs, and vegan. If you want to purchase this, visit statesidevodka.com and use code PLAYMAKER or click that link in the description below. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and once again, visit statesidevodka.com and use code PLAYMAKER. All right, welcome back. I hope you purchased some of that vodka, Stateside Vodka. You know, link is in the description. It's vegan free. You heard what I was saying in the sponsored video, so make sure you go get that. But back to the interview. So TCA this season, you beat a couple top teams in the state. Roselle Catholic. I'm blanking. Who else did you beat?
We beat St. Thomas last night. That was a wild game. We actually lost a game like that my first year. We were up like 19 and ended up losing the game by like 10 my first year there. But we beat Don Bosco the first day, and they were like number, I think like 16. We were unranked. We were kind of mad. We were unranked. Like we knew the team we had, but nobody else knew the team we had. So that was different. But from day one, we practiced for 2 weeks. Got to the Friday before we were supposed to open up the next Tuesday. Parent called, he got COVID. They shut us down. That was, you know, the kids was mad. Yeah. I was out of state, and I was just like, yo, I couldn't do anything from where I was at, but I'm like, this is crazy because of we were ready to go. Like that was a team that was like, it's like you ever have a dog that's in a cage? Like they was breaking down doors, ready to go. So we went through all the COVID protocol. We had one date that we were supposed to come back, scheduled games from that date on. Then they gave us a second date that we could come back. The first day we came back, we played Don Bosco. We played them at 3 o'clock. We had a 10 o'clock in the morning practice for the first time in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Hadn't touched the basketball in 2 weeks. We had a 10 o'clock in the morning practice. We probably practiced for about an hour and a half. I looked at the kids and I knew they were ready. Like it was nothing else that we can do. I was just like, are we going to be able to sustain for 32 minutes just because we hadn't practiced for that long? And they came out, we were up 31-5. Like number 16 team in the state. We couldn't play no better. You know, I was happy, you know, very, very happy with that. And, you know, Roselle Catholic, we hadn't beat them. I don't think we beat them in 8 years, 9 years, or whatever. So that game was huge. You know, Braxton Jones stepped through big for us that game. Deuce Jones came in, had 14 as a freshman, which was, you play Roselle Catholic as a freshman, you ain't supposed to have, I don't care what Roselle Catholic team it is, you ain't supposed to have 14 points. And we had, that was good, and think we played Lenape the next game, and then we lost 2 in a row. We just lost to Elizabeth, and we lost to Life Center, which, I mean, they were very winnable games, but those teams were good. They played 32 minutes of basketball, which we didn't play, and got back to everything yesterday. Did we play yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. The weeks are running together now at this point. So we played yesterday. down 17 with 3 minutes left in the third quarter. We made a sudden change with our lineup, and it changed the entire game. A kid that hadn't played the whole season came in, hit a three, had a tomahawk dunk, had 16 points from 3 minutes on to the end of the game, and that was it. And, we preach this year defense. Like, defense is what we do. Like, as much as we work on our offense every day, defense is very key in what we do. And it turned around, very quickly. We put on the press and we did everything. But, in terms of the COVID season, this is crazy. Like, you cannot have a game tomorrow, play, the team would cancel for tomorrow's game, and instead of you going to North Jersey, you're going to South Jersey. Instead of you going to the shore, you going, to Northwest, you going to Gill or Somerset or something like that, to play wherever you're playing. So this season has been weird, and I was telling like one of the kids today, like, I usually have a point in the season where like I'm tired. Like I'm like, it's a lot going on. We usually have that week where we play like 1 or 2 games. We haven't had that yet, and we've been going every day since the day that we did our 2-week COVID break. But in between that and the start of the season and now, we've been going every day, Sundays included. And the kids don't like. We like, yo, let's have off. The kids like, no. Like, for what? Like, what are we having off for? And I'm like, oh, all right. You don't want to have off again. Guess we can't have off. So, we don't have off. But other than that, it's been a crazy season. How
was this TCA team different from other TCA teams in the past, you think?
They play defense. Like, our biggest thing is defense. Like, now, since the 2 twins came in, Jamil and Jamal from Burlington City, I've always felt like over the years we needed a culture change. And it wasn't like the kids were bad. It was just you couldn't get what we wanted to get. Like, we wanted to have, like, we wanted to outscore you. Well, we ain't the Warriors. You ain't got everybody, everybody ain't shooting from all positions. So, when we brought those twins in, it was a culture change for us. They brought an attitude that we needed. They brought an energy. They brought an energy to the team. Like I was telling you prior, like we were having this conversation like about the offense, and they both looked at me like we came here to play defense, and I said, "Oh, all right, play defense then." We don't talk to me about offense. We're gonna play defense, and that's it. They've became very important pieces to this team, and them along with like Deuce Jones and kid Brian Bernard, we have like very good defenders. We can rotate defenders at like the guard position where we feel like we're not going to have, like the Twins play the best defense, but like if it's like you got to get somebody else to play defense, we have other guards that can play defense as well. And the senior group this year is different. They don't have like that ego mentality. They're very invested in winning. So like with Freddie and Brandon and Dajir and all those guys are just, they want to win. They care about winning. So with that, it's like they know we needed to play better defense. So with the Twins coming in, it was like, oh, all right, y'all take care of the defensive part. We'll handle everything on offense. We're good. So that was, that's very different about this team, and that's the best thing about this team than any other team that we had, really.
I want to go back real quick to the kid the senior who didn't play all season, got his number called and took advantage of that opportunity, because a lot of times kids, especially seniors, if they not playing the whole season, they like tune out like what's going on, don't know what's going on the court, not interested in practices. But it's good to see that he came in the game ready to produce. It could have been 1 minute, it could have been 2 minutes, but it ended up being a nice chunk of the game, and he ended up having a great game. Where you say he got a dunk, he had 14 points, I think you said. Like, so kids out there listening, I'm not saying this will be you will have 14 points and whatnot, but just stay ready, because at some point the coach may need you, and if you don't know what's going on, that's just making it worse on you the next time when they looking down that bench to look to see who to put in. And they look at you and they remember that last game they put you in. You wasn't ready. You wasn't rotating right. You ain't know what was going on. So I ain't want to overlook that.
No, that's key though. Like I mean, like I said, that kid, like a senior transfer, like you transfer, you expect to play. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, you want to play right away. And I mean, he was getting spared. Like he wasn't like you said, he was getting maybe 1 or 2 minutes. Like, you know, garbage time. Like
yeah.
Is what it is. Like, you know, and he would play like first quarter, may not go back in the rest of the game. You know, like, play second quarter, may not go back in. And he had showed things in practice that I just was like, if it was consistent, like we can do it. You know, if it becomes more consistent, we can put you out there. And it was just like, all right, you know, that day he did what he had to do, and he came in, had a key steal, you know. He made 3 threes and like tomahawk dunks. I'm just like, all right, you know. He shot 1 3 that like you watched the game. I got really upset. We was up 58, 57, and he shot a 3. But like other than that, he played a complete game. And like we tell our guys all the time, we feel like we got 9 starters. Like we can play any group of 5 kids, and we have belief in them. And with him coming in the game and making that impact, it was just more belief for our bench players that like, if I do the right things, I can play. You know, there's no reason for coach not to believe in me if I do everything I'm supposed to do and that they're asking me to do.
So I want to talk about the freshman. How is he? Because I be seeing the stats. How is he adjusting to the varsity level?
Very well. You know, to be honest, like I mean, having I think he's averaging about like 12 or 13 right now as a freshman. One of our better shooters, you know, per se, and he's one of our top 3 defenders. You know, I mean, he makes freshman mistakes, which is understandable for a freshman, but you're gonna live with him because, like, again, one thing I really learned from Coach Varsity, like, you're gonna take the younger guy because you got 4 years, like you got 3 years, whatever the case may be. You know, with a junior, you got 2 years, so you always want those younger guys because you can teach them along the way. But with him, he had been playing with our guys in summer leagues and all different other things, you know.
And he was playing pickup with us in the summer.
Right. So it was, I mean, like, when he came in, it was like, all right, you know, Deuce is here. Like, about time you here already. Like, you've been playing with us for forever. So, you know, it's like, all right, about time you here, bro. Like, let's get it going now. Everything that you done prepared for, you know, with our kids, you know, he's playing with our kids all the time, with our middle schools, with our high schools, and whatever events that he can play with them in. And him playing with them just was like, I want to say it was easier for him, but if it wasn't easier, it looked like it was easier for him.
So speaking about TCA, news broke that the school is closing. How do you feel about that? Being that you said this is one of the better teams that you've had, how do you feel about the school closing? And what do you think will? I mean, I know what you hope will happen. What do you think will happen for the years to come for TCA?
The first day, I took you like the first day, it was like kind of shocking. It's like, how you gonna close the school with all this history and tradition, and you know, and then I started to like think like, all right, well, what do we got to do to keep it open? And it was a lot of people who thought the same way I thought. Like,
right.
So we put the group together on Facebook, Save Trenton Catholic Academy, and from that time that group was created, we basically turned the tables, like, you know, with different ideas that we had, and you know, the different alumni. Like the alumni, like if you really get to meet like the alumni that go to Trenton Catholic, there's some great people. Like, and they understand the mission of our school. Like when Sister Dorothy was alive, like it was just like she said to me the first day Fauci introduced me to her. She told Fauci to get out the office. We had a conversation, and she said the number one goal here is that kids don't pay for college. And that was what made me understand, like, this is about college. You know, this is about that. So with that in mind, and everybody understanding like how valuable not only our sports programs are, but the community that TCA builds within like its own community, it's like, all right, we can't let this go. And we've made tremendous strides toward keeping the school open and, leave it up to everybody else, the school closing, but the school ain't closing. Like that, it ain't happening. We have a website right now. I want to say it's ironmikefund.com.
I'll throw it in the description, and you'll see it on the screen.
Yeah, and I'll look that up. I'll send you the flyer and everything that they have together. But we're taking pledges right now. We have like great alumni. Some of the alumni came through today just to see and tell us how proud of us they were that that we're overcoming adversity. Like that was a week before the season started, and not even a week. I want to say season started Monday. It was that Friday that it came out, and parents calling, what am I doing? Let's get through the season first, right? Let's get through the season first, and we'll worry about the future later. And, with that, we have a very good parent organization that's ran by Melissa Fusick, and she grinds away every day with the help of all the other parents, but they grind away every day at making sure that this school community stays together. And for me, it's weird because I work in a public school during the day, I work here at night, and it's like both schools are families. But because TCA is so small, there's no it's 500 people in this little building that everybody. And with that, we can't break that up. Like it's just too much history, tradition, and even with the name change, we still aren't I feel like I'm part of this program. That's like I'm saying, like we still aren't mice at the end of the day because it's like you have that. It's like we've been on the same property, regardless of whatever the school says. Whatever the name is, we've all been here together, and there's no way that this place can close. It ain't closing. Like it's we keeping it together. We keeping everything going, and they'll have more information out later at a later date.
On top of Reggie's question, though, you said you guys are not closing, but I wanted to know, how did the players react to hearing that news about the school closing?
The seniors were they were iffy that I'm graduating. So it kind of doesn't affect them. Yeah. But the juniors, their parents called me right away. Like junior year in high school basketball is key. So if you don't really, you're not gaining your traction in recruiting and all that other stuff, you have to figure out a way to navigate it. So with that, it the junior class was way more in depth. And we only have 4 or 5 juniors, but that I started to now coaches are reaching out to me from other schools, out of state schools, in-state schools. What are you doing? What am I doing? As a coach, are you leaving? What's going on? Can you bring the guys with you? And it was all that. And I just had to stop it. I'm we have a season, regardless of how many games we play, whatever tournament, whatever you give us, we're going to have a goal that we're trying to reach at the end of the year. And if we can reach that goal at the end of the year, I have to have my undivided attention to this goal. So with that being said, we were playing a sectional tournament and everything else. And I just had to tell the parents, tell the kids from all the ages, we have to focus here. March 7th or whatever it is, the date that it's over, we'll refocus on to what we're doing next year and AAU season. It's just a lot of things that got to happen before June. So it's all that going on. The junior class is very crazy. The freshman class is all right, y'all freshmen, y'all got 3 more years. We can send you somewhere else. Yeah. But other than that, it was kind of weird. The seniors didn't care. The juniors were very concerned. Freshmen, they don't think nothing going nowhere. They think it's going to be the same next year. And the sophomores are, somewhat of the same way. So that kind of, it was different all across the board. But I had to refocus everybody. We can't do this. We got to win. Whatever we have, we winning, and let's move on.
So before we let you go, I got a couple questions. A couple people asked on Instagram. So the first one is, what was the biggest challenge for you being a young coach?
The biggest challenge for me was that, wow. I don't want to say it was a challenge, but playing time.
Mm-hmm.
Like trying to figure out how are you supposed to play kids, because we've never been bad, and every team I've had, I've tried to have a good point guard on it, because you don't want that point guard that's trying to score all the time. You want the one that's going to distribute, get everybody involved, and make everybody happy. So playing time was very difficult because we just had, like, we might have had 10 guys on the bench, so 9 of those guys play college basketball now. Like, so with that being said, it was finding time for them to play was very difficult to start out. But it was cool because everybody understood that, like, I can't play every game. I'm just kids here going D1, and I ain't going D1.
Right.
I gotta readjust what I'm doing. But practices, I tell the kids now, practices are more competitive than most of our games, because you playing D1 talent in practice, and you might play somebody who ain't never gonna play college basketball or ever touch a basketball after the day they graduate. So practices is really where I put a lot of emphasis on right now.
Yeah, that's how it should be, though. Practice should be harder than the game.
Definitely.
That's I just want that.
Oh, I thought you had more. One more question. Also, as a young coach who has experienced success, what would be your advice to aspiring coaches?
Be you. Like, you have to be whatever you know as a coach, put it out there, and whatever you don't know as a coach, find somebody that knows. Like, I hate being the smartest person in the room. I tell people that all the time. Like, I always put together, like, when openings come around, like, the UN job, it became available at one time, and I had put together a staff. Like, my youngest assistant coach was like 20 years older than me. Like, and it was like, people, like, I'm talking to people about, like, they're like, why him? Why? I mean, he's been there 20 years. Like, I don't I want somebody who's, like, going to, like, if I don't have the answers, somebody has to have the answers. And, like, my right-hand man is Dave Broach when it comes to coaching. I think Dave 10 years older than me, 11 years older than me. And, like, we literally will talk basketball for 2.5 hours and don't even know we're talking about. Like, don't even know it's been 2.5 hours. And he's been coaching longer than I've been coaching. And it ain't by many years, but it's like we know, like, how I don't know this answer, but I know Dave got to know. Like, you've been there too long not to know. So, and a lot of my coaching mentors are very 20, 30, 40 years older than me. So when I have these conversations with them, I'm not scared to say I don't know. Like, I don't have the answer for this question. And I go into practice every day. Like, Coach Eric right now, like the head coach of TCA, he is literally coached at, Division I JUCOs, D2, D3 schools, So a lot of people, like, question a lot of the things that he does, but it's like, I'm learning while still putting, my input in on the game and the things that I know that I've learned. So again, like, as a young coach, find people that know more than you, make them your assistant coaches, and also be true to who you are as a coach. So it really, that boils down to that, at that point.
Shout out to Dave, too, because that second question was from Dave. Shout out to you, Dave.
Listen, man, Dave knows. Like, we get ready to take a team out of state soon, and I told him, he's like, I don't know if you going. Like, I need you to go. I'll pay for the plane ticket and everything. You got to go, bro. Like, this is just the way that we, it's the way that we coach. And I don't feel comfortable without having somebody there that knows more than me. Because it's like, we might get in any situation. Down 30, we ain't usually down 30, but it may happen. He may have a solution that I don't have. So, you have to be able to find people that know more than you and develop your skills that way instead of saying, I'm not better. Like, I'm not good enough. Nah, you're good enough. Just find somebody that knows more than you.
Last question I'd like to ask all my guests, and with your answer, you got to try to help us get this person. So, who would you like to see on the Playmaker podcast next? Dave, bro.
Dave.
Hey,
Dave
you better
is
accept
really,
this invite too.
Dave is really like, Dave is like, he don't want to tell everybody, but Dave, like, he knows the basketball world inside and out, and he's helped me tremendous. At I came into TCA first, and he came to a practice, and Pal said, yeah, you can come on too. So when we first got there, we were there together from the beginning, and it was like a connection that my brother played with his brother on my dad's team. Mm-hmm. So that was where I first met Dave. So that was like 15, 16 years ago, something like that. And ever since then, we didn't know it was going to get to like where we coached together, but we've always seen basketball in the same, the same eye-to-eye type of thing. And he's been on that level where he's coached a lot of D1 talent, I coached a lot of D1 talent, but it's different when you're in different states and, different ways that you train and all that type of stuff. So, yeah, get Dave on here. Dave got a lot to tell people. He don't really want to tell people.
Make sure you accept that invite. Thank y'all for tuning in to the Playmaker podcast. We want to thank Sean again for joining the show. I want to thank my brother for, filling in for Keita and DJ Bean. Also, shout out to TCA's girls team, ranked 12 in the nation. Yeah, 12, right?
Yep, 12 today. It came out today.
12 in the nation. I'm having Sharika on in March, so be on the lookout for that. Assistant coach at TCA for the girls varsity team. Once again, we want to thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all subscribe, leave a review. Let us know what we did good, bad, all that good stuff. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Once again, I want to thank you guys for listening. This is the Playmaker Podcast. I'm your host, Reggie Coleman. Peace.
Visit our website at theplaymakerpodcast.com and subscribe on Apple Podcast and Spotify.